Just joking. All right. Hi, this is Scott Wilkins with Backstage View. We're sitting here with the legend himself, Jerry Douglas. Jerry, thanks for letting me come by and speak with you. I appreciate
pleasure.
it.
I'm glad you could come by. Thanks for coming.
I couldn't help but overhear before a little bit of your phone conversation, which was something that kind of was something I was going to ask you right away anyway. Congratulations, you're a grandfather, you said.
I'm a grandfather, yeah, 2 months ago.
Well, congratulations.
Little girl Amelia, yeah, beautiful little girl.
Well, when I...
Stirring up my life all over again.
When I met you at Thomas Point, you had a GoPro. And I was with my friend, we went over to speak with you, and it was kind of amazing, because here everyone's always like looking to take pictures of you. And from your point of view, you want to take pictures.
I have been doing that a lot in the past 3 years or so with other cameras, but the GoPro is so easy and looks so good that I was going around the festival telling everybody I was from CNN. And they didn't recognize me, and they just talked to me. Oh, I love the festival. You know, I said, how do you like the festival? Well, I'm doing a small piece for CNN. We're going to air it later tonight. And, you might want to run home and set your timer to record it. And they would just tell me how much they loved the festival. And it was an amazing place.
Oh yeah, and then you walked away, and they were all like, "Man, he was familiar."
They looked familiar, but CNN, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great festival there. It was a lot of fun.
I still have to send those to Patty, by the way.
Yeah, the pictures.
Yeah, all the she'll get a kick out of that stuff.
Yeah, the view there is second to none.
Ah, it's beautiful.
Second to none up there. So I wanted to ask you, when I was reading, when you were 15 years old, the Country Gentlemen asked you to play with them, and you decided to wait a year, finish high school first. And that happens to many people all the time.
I didn't go pro right away.
I mean, so you're playing in your dad's band, you're playing the Dobro, and had that whole thing come about? As far as, first of all, the Dobro back then was no one heard of it.
Well, there weren't many people playing it, and coming up, in northeastern Ohio and playing the Dobro was a pretty strange thing to do. There was Josh Graves playing with Flat and Scruggs, and probably with Lester Flat at that point, because they'd split up. Mike Aldridge was out there, but there really weren't that many Dobro players at that point. No.
How'd you get a Dobro?
It was a long process. I had a Silvertone guitar that we used. That we raised the strings on until it exploded. That the heat got to it from coming through the window. The heat hit my case, and I came home from school, and I hit the latch on my case, and the whole guitar folded up.
So you got the idea of a Dobro from Josh Graves?
I saw Flat and Scruggs play. Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones who was around to see them play. But I was like 9 years old, and I saw them play, and my dad had a bluegrass band, and there was no Dobro player to teach me anything, though. There's no one to teach me anything. I found out how it was tuned, and I just sat down and listened to records and figured out how to play it. It's the long way around.
So you came out of high school, 16 years old or so, and you started playing with the Country Gentlemen.
I played with them between my junior and senior year of high school. Went back and finished high school, then graduated from high school, turned 18, and moved all on the same day. Moved to DC.
How did you travel with them? If you're,
everybody they were traveled by bus. They were
coming home anyway.
They were big time, and so I moved to DC and got a place to live in DC, and just traveled with them. And for that first summer, I lived at Bill Yates' house. He was the bass player. I lived at his house, and it was just a blast. I mean, it was like boys' club,
Well, you're a teenager, underage. How'd they treat you?
They treated me like an equal. Yeah, they were great to me. I never got in trouble for working in any of the bars or anything. Nobody gave me any trouble. Only one place. The first time I worked in New York City. I mean, I was in the musicians union and everything, but I wasn't on the contract to play with them at Avery Fisher Hall.
Had you ever
Lincoln
been to
Center.
New York before?
Never.
That's your first time in New York? Your first
Well, actually, I had been, because the first time I ever flew on an airplane was from Youngstown, Ohio to New York City, and then I got in a cab at New York City, and I was 16 then, 16 or 17, and they put me up in Chelsea. And Chelsea in 1972 or 73 was not the place that it is now.
Right.
But I was staying at the Chelsea Hotel, not knowing that, you know, the place was mainly full of junkies and living there, and really a lot of trust funder people, and you know, it was the top of the folk boom, you know, was passing, and there were a lot of famous people there. And one of the first things I saw was somebody coming out of the elevator with this Carmen Miranda fruit bowl thing on their head. And that was my introduction to New York City.
I think they're still there. I think maybe they're next generation.
Well, I'm not sure it was a woman anymore either, so I really don't know any. Somebody asked me, "You sure it was a woman?" And I went, "No." You know, I didn't think of it then. It never occurred to me. But
when you were still in high school, though, and you were learning the dobro, why did you stay like underground? Like you didn't let people know what you were doing?
Well, country music, and especially bluegrass music, just wasn't cool. You know,
right.
Or I was afraid that it wasn't, and I didn't let anybody know that I was playing, you know, pretty much professionally out, you know. Right. Playing dates with my dad's band. We were playing in bars, you know, right. and little old ladies were giving me Sprite and vodka to drink, you know. It's on Saturday nights, and I was, you know, they wondered why I couldn't come out with them on Saturday nights, and I just didn't tell anybody, you know. So, but as soon as they found out, is when we were all seniors in high school, and they found out that I was a musician, they all started showing up, you know,
right.
at the bar, you know. And at 18, it was okay for them to drink. But I still wasn't old enough to yet, but some of them were. But I just didn't think it really wasn't cool at that point. It's a strange thing to say, but it just didn't seem like a cool thing to do, is to be a bluegrass musician, you know, in my social climate. I just didn't tell anybody.
So how long at that point were you playing with the country gentlemen that you started playing with some of the people who were your heroes?
Right away. I mean, when I went out on the festival circuit with them, I started seeing, you know, on almost a daily basis, started seeing people who were my heroes. And Mike Aldridge, you know, as a dobro player, he was at the top of the heap. And I was living in D.C., so I would go see the Seldom Seen play on a Thursday night at the Red Fox in Bethesda, Maryland. And they had sort of a regular job there playing on Thursday nights. And then I would go get on the bus midnight with the Country Gentlemen, and we'd go to the weekend of festivals, you know, and come back dragging in on Monday or Tuesday. So it started right away, and the recording stuff really didn't start until like 75, you know, when I met Ricky Skaggs was in the band with me, the Country Gentlemen. So, and then I was introduced to Tony Rice, and then to David Grisman, and you know, I mean, it just kept happening. You know, things. The music was going up rungs on a ladder, and everything was changing. You know, it was a good time to be around. It was a good time in bluegrass music to be around, because all these different, you know, influences were starting to pour into bluegrass music. It was really starting to change.
Right, right. So when you left the Country Gentlemen, where'd you go after that?
I went to with J.D. Crowe.
J.D. Crowe.
And was with J.D. Crowe throughout a really explosive era. Yeah, Tony Rice and Ricky Skaggs and Bobby Sloan, J.D. and myself. And then we kind of played festivals all summer long. Then went to Japan and played in Japan. and came back, and Tony went with David Grisman, and Ricky and I started our own band called Boone Creek at that point. And after that, then I moved to Nashville and started playing with Buck White and his daughter Sharon and Cheryl, the Whites, and we started having country records, you know, on charting country records, and I started doing lots and lots of sessions, and it became so busy doing sessions that I left the road.
Right. And you're still doing that?
Yeah. Not to the degree that I was then, because country music has changed so much that I'm really not into it as much as I used to be.
But if someone's down and they need a dobro player and they fit the bill that they could afford, you know.
Well, I'm pretty choosy about what I do, you know, but I mean, I still do things for free. I still do things for nothing, or I still do things for, you know, triple scale.
When I think of down in Nashville as a session guy, and I know Sam Bush also, and it just seems like whenever you guys are on stage together, it seems like you guys are just having so much fun. I mean, it's just...
We live about not quite a mile apart, but we don't see each other really unless we're, you know, 1,000 miles from home, 500,000 miles. But just the other day, he was at my house and we were both recording on somebody else's record that I've never met, but the guy was really good, and Sam said, "Hey, this guy wants you to play on his record, would you do it?" And I said, "You're doing it and he sounds great, yeah, let's go."
So that's why you're on like over 2,000 recordings, because that's what you do.
You know, I don't count those things. Evidently somebody does.
Somebody does. That's how I read that. So.
But I don't count those things. But yeah, I get that's why. I mean, there was a period in the late '90s, well, I'll take that back. It's like from like '86 or '7 to 2004, you know, 3 sessions a day for 5 days a week, probably 6 days a week, and so that's when all the records piled up.
Well, let me go back just a little bit. When you practice, you were younger. It's different now how you practice. You probably don't even practice now because you're playing all the time. But when you did practice, how did you practice? What was it you did? Like, as far as
I never really practiced. I never really like sat down and sat down and played scales or anything like that. No, I played on stage, and I'd sit around and I would play along with some records sometimes, but I listened a lot, and I guess I did play. You know, it's kind of hard to remember all that now, but it's been a while back. But I didn't just sit down and practice, like make myself practice 3 hours a day or anything like that. I enjoyed it so much that, I mean, I played football all through high school, ran track, did all that stuff, and that took away from my dobro playing, I guess. But I looked at it like the dobro playing was taken away from my football time, because I didn't get to play football my senior year of high school because I was on the road with the band through summer practice, so I didn't get to do that. And that's I regret that, but otherwise I wasn't a practicer, and I'm still not. I do play a lot. I play for about a half an hour before I go on stage, just to get things talking to one another. You know, get the pictures, the hands talking, you know, the brain and the guitar and all that stuff get together before. You know, I'm not 25 anymore, so I have to get things moving before I go out there.
Well, when you do that, you're just jamming or like stretching your fingers, basically? Or?
Yeah, basically just running through stuff, mostly stuff that I'm not going to even play that night. Just running through, you know, slowly getting my speed up.
I read that that the 3-finger pick that Scruggs,
the roll,
that you kind of made that your own also in the dobro.
Well, it was something that dobro players really didn't do. They didn't play fiddle tunes, per se, or they played tunes, but they didn't connect the notes with rolls like Earl Scruggs did until Josh Graves came along and did it to a certain degree. But I kind of took it to another another level after him.
Right.
And I, playing on a record the other day, I did a thing where there was a part that I wanted to hear that was just a staccato rolling part all the way through the song, and so I can do that. I can just keep it going all the way through the song without stopping. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of when I happened upon that was a big day for me to discover that. Right. And I think that was after I'd been really sick. I mean, when you're sick, you don't have all the things, the distractions, sort of. I've played on stage before when I wasn't feeling well, or once in a while things would go black, but you can still play. Right. And it was some of the better shows I've ever played because I wasn't thinking about 1,000 things. I was just thinking about one thing.
Well, you talk about 1,000 things. You normally, do you have like 1,000 projects going at once?
I have a lot of things going on at once.
At once, yeah.
Yeah, so, I have a
lot
of
things. You got a whole team
to
kind of help. You have a whole team to kind of help you keep it together.
Yeah. My wife does a lot of it at home, but now there's a manager and there's a day-to-day manager, another guy at home, and another person that does social media stuff and booking agents, and there are a lot of people. Being
as busy as you are, how do you do family time? Like, do you just take a month off or something every now and then?
Well, a lot of my vacations have had to do with I would be playing a gig in a nice place like in Thomas Point Beach, where my wife was with me, and we took off from there and went to Bar Harbor for a week. Which is a pretty nice place to go on a vacation, and pretty far from Nashville, Tennessee. But we've made this pact to where we can't really call it a vacation if there's a sound check involved at either end of it. So we can't really call that a vacation, even though I do, because I'm just so busy there.
Right. And then you're walking down the street and someone recognizes you and says, "That's the guy from CNN."
That would have been great if they had done that at CNN, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, going to say all the bands and so forth. Alison's band, you guys are getting together again for the IBMAs, and you haven't played in a long time together, have you?
We played some this summer. We did probably about 20 shows this summer out with Willie Nelson.
Oh, wow.
So we did that. Yeah. So we're not coming at it completely cold.
So I heard her voice last year, I think, at the IBMAs. They were talking. She had some trouble.
She was having some trouble, and she discovered it, and she took care of it. Right. She's great. That's great. She's totally fine.
So I think Tony Rice even mentioned something about it
in his speech. Yeah, it was at the same time when Alison was having a little problem, but so he mentioned her. But it kind of blew it out of proportion a little bit to a lot of people. But she was not to the point where Tony is, where it's a guy named Paul Simon told me that it's never irreparable. You can get it back. Even Tony could get it back if he saw the right person and saw the right doctor and everything. It is something you can get back. A lot of it's psychological, a lot of it's physical. It's both of those things. So you have to have a handle on both of those things.
What was the story about how you got to be in Alison's band when she was admiring you forever, and then all of a sudden you're playing in her band?
I met her when she was 14, and I produced a lot of the first record, produced all of the second record, and of hers.
You were playing it as you were producing it.
And I was playing in the band and produced, yeah. And I've played on probably all of her records except maybe the one I didn't play on the Robert Plant record, and I didn't play on one of the Union Station records I didn't play on. But I've had her on my records, and we've recorded a ton together. She's just wonderful, and one of my best friends. And so we were out this summer. We're going to play at the IBMA on a Friday night, and then the Earls of Leicester are playing on Saturday night. So, and all the award stuff is on Thursday night. It's going to be that's a full week.
Yeah, I was there last year for my first time, and it was a game changer for me.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Back to when you produce, Are you always playing?
No.
And how is it like when you're producing? Are you like you produce Del McCoury's records and stuff like so? What is it that you do as a producer? What is a producer's job?
Well, a producer's job, I mean, this is the way I see it, is to get the sessions together. You know, book the studio, the engineer. You know, figure out what format you're going to record on, analog, digital. You know,
Are you involved with each song, making suggestions along
each
the
song way? in choosing the songs that you're going to record, you know, and arranging those and constructing them in a way that make them, you know, cohesive and make them hit the mark, you know, in the middle. I just the Steve Canyon Rangers record just came out.
Yeah, it's #1 now.
Is it?
Yeah,
I should keep up with these things.
Yeah,
but just taking that one as an example, I worked with the band in the studio, and they would send me songs, and I would send back comments. You know, what if we do this? What if we do this? What if the harmonies are stacked this way? But
so
a lot
you
of
can
stuff
produce it from afar as you're doing other stuff.
Yeah, and send it back to since there was a distance in it between, you know, where we live. I could send things back to them, comments and, you know, and arrangement styles, you know, and have them try this and see what you think about this, you know, and then just comments, and then get in the studio, and I might have an idea. It was like, oh wow, what if we did this? I mean, there's one place between songs where the songs are so different that I took a piece off of the front of the third, like between the second and third songs. I took a piece off of the third song, and I reversed it. I just flipped it, and so the song starts from like real loud to like, you know, like that, and that's how it comes in backwards. The song comes in backwards. I mean, it's a little bit of a trick, but it really gets your attention. You know, there are a lot of things like that. I mean, that's the producer's job, is to focus on the really good aspects of the band. You know, where their talents lie, their strong points, find all those things, and work from there. You know, and then all the way through, I worked all the way through to the sequencing of the songs on the record, to how they go and how you build it like you would a set list on stage. And like, you don't just do a bunch of songs in the same key or a bunch of songs in the same speed. You know, you take the audience up and down with you. You make the audience feel connected to the music.
Right. What would you suggest to young emerging artists that are out there today?
I just think that they listen to everything that's out there. You know, you want to be current, or, you know, at least sonically current, you know. But I can also, every time I say anything like that, if I think, oh, you should be sonically current, then it makes me want to just make everything sound like a 78, you know. But, you know, just doing things to draw attention to the songs, you know. Or I just did a whole interview about how you construct backup for a song, you know, or backup against somebody like Alison singing, you know, and how you build the layers and
you mean vocal backup?
Vocal backup and the track, you know, and so, because the music, you're listening to the vocalist, but what you don't, what is sort of subconscious part of it is the music is moving underneath too. That's giving you these emotions, bringing out different emotions, and you're accenting different lyrics, you're accenting different song substance changes. You might make the song funnier musically than it you know, Fellini-esque, you know, so where it's funny where it shouldn't be funny,
right?
And that sort of turns everything over and brings out a completely different emotion. There are all kinds of things.
And it's the same, I assume, no matter what the genre is, because
you know, the one genre, but the one band that I have fooled with the least is this one there with the Earls of Leicester, because I so admired and respected the music of Flatt and Scruggs that when we put this band together, we put it together with new personalities, sort of channeling these guys that had already done this, probably the best that it could ever be done.
Right.
But I found these musicians who are at the top of their game, who sound so much like this band, but are like a recreation of this band. You know,
Right.
like in some ways better, maybe.
The timing though of the songs, like the signatures, they're similar, if not the same. Like everything, like almost spot on. Like it's right.
Yeah, we really didn't mess with. I mean, I'm playing an old Dobro guitar instead of a new one because it just doesn't. A new one just doesn't sound right.
What kind of Dobros? I mean, you probably have every one that's out there, I'm sure. But what are the ones that you prefer?
Well, I prefer to play. You know, I have some guitars that are built for me by a guy named Paul Beard, and that's what I play most of the time. But the guitars that I'm playing out here on the road with Earls of Leicester are guitars, Dobro guitars that were built in the 30s.
Wow.
So every instrument up there, you know, the newest instrument up there was probably built in the 40s. And everything else is pretty much period to what Flatt and Scruggs would have used, and it really makes a difference in how the whole thing sounds. You know, how the whole ball of wax, you know, the whole finished product sounds.
I know you got to go soon. Let me just ask a couple of quick ones here.
Yeah.
You played with Clapton and Fogerty and all, and you produced Fogerty's also, right?
I've produced tracks that both of them have played on, and yeah.
Clapton too?
Yeah.
I don't know what to ask, but it just sounds amazing. Tell me something cool. Tell me something cool about
what you realize when you work with people like that, you go into it, you're scared to death, you know, and you have such respect, and you hold them in such a high place that you get in there with them, and then they set you at ease, and then you can be you, totally you, and they can be totally them, and they're just people just like you and me,
well, not like me, but that's like
maybe they're not like you. I don't know what you're like, but they were really easy to work with. I mean, the first time I asked James Taylor, I said, "Would you do it again?" I felt totally like how can I even say that to him, you know? But he went, "Oh yeah, you know, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'll change it in this one place." And I said, "Exactly. That's why I'm asking this. I'm just kind of pussyfooting around this, but yeah, when you do it one more time."
That's great.
And he said, "Yeah, totally, I can do that. You know, I would want to do that again. You know." So it's real easy to work with them. I mean, there's a reason they have such endurance, and they've been around and had such long careers. People who no one can get along with don't last very long. You know, they come and go, or they may be famous, but they're more famous for being an ass than for being a good musician, good singer, nice person.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me. Do you have anything you're promoting for the future that we could all keep an eye out looking for?
I'm in the process of putting together my next record, and right now, and this is really early on because it's going to probably take, you know, months to do this, but I'm writing with some other artists and some folks. I can't really mention names yet because it's not done, you know. But some people you would know of, and you would know their names. But we're going to write songs together, and you know, just it's going to be a duet record. But there'll be bands involved, different bands, different types of bands. But just people that I've worked with over my career, and some that I haven't worked with, you know.
When's that due out?
Probably this time next year.
Awesome. All right. Well,
yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
appreciate it,
Scott. Thanks.
Best of luck to you, and hope to
Thank
see
you.
you again soon.
Thank you.
We'll see you down at the IBMAs.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Travel
Thanks
safe.
a lot.